new dawn of hybrids entering the Gulf. Now, there's been reported attacks of hybrids and also a Coast Guard vessel up in the North Atlantic by these hybrid sharks, codenamed Sharkopaths, which are named after the famous show The Future is Wild. Now these animals have attacked two hybrids to our knowledge, one created by Harris T-Song and one created by Toxic P. Both of these hybrids were taken down with odd efficiency. And so these hybrids, created by a British scientist, are currently heading to the Gulf of Mexico. Currently, there's a dozen of them heading there. And they will be greeted by the defender of the reef, Dracocetus 2.0, and his siblings, Ivory and Abyss. Now, these trio will have to face quite the interesting fight. Bruce and the rest of his siblings are a shark hybrid that consists of Arcuculitis, an extinct genus of shark, great white shark, bull shark, tiger shark, and dwarf lantern shark, along with bumphead parrotfish and bottlenose dolphin. Bottlenose dolphin contributes intelligence, while the bumphead parrotfish reinforces the teeth and turns the front of the snout into a battering ram by hardening the cartilage, while bull sharks add on to the gills to reinforce his ability to explore different environments, allowing him to go into freshwater. While tiger shark is here for its strange eating habits, leading it to have a quite powerful immune system, and great white sharks to attribute its antifreeze blood so it can travel more places. Now, Bruce definitely is an interesting hybrid, using dwarf lanternfish shark for bioluminescence to communicate. And I will go over how he performs against Dracocetus 2.0. Dracocetus 2.0 coming at 4 tons and 35 feet long, with a bite force of roughly 29,000 newtons, is a quite formidable foe. And compared to Bruce, who's sitting at 2 tons, 25 feet long, with a quite powerful bite force of his own, none stated, but I'm assuming they'd be quite tough, and a cruising speed of 25 miles per hour and a maximum burst at 50 miles per hour. That will be addressed later. But so, comparing these two, Dracocetus wins the size advantage and has a quite more powerful frame. I will address that later. And being a quite bulky, armored animal, while Bruce only has the denticles provided by his shark components. So, Dracocetus is much more armored and definitely being the physically stronger of the two. Now, on to other categories, or what I'm going to call Dissecting Bruce. Now, Bruce is a quite, on paper, well thought out hybrid. In execution, not so much. So, first off, we're going with his speed, which is quite remarkable if he had the build for it. Now listen. So, Bruce, being composed of mostly great white and other large-bodied sharks, swims using his entire body, mostly concentrated on the front half of the body, near the head, and using ram ventilation, so you must constantly stay moving. But the thing with these sharks is when it comes to their tail, they're thick all the way through. It doesn't taper, unlike a mako shark, who uses and other faster fish, which are quite smaller, which have a more taper, which kind of works. My best analogy is like a doorstop. So at the base, it moves quite fast, but not a lot. It's pretty stiff, shall I say. But this leads to the flexible end of the tail moving quite faster, propelling the shark further and faster. Unlike these large-bodied sharks, which when they have to turn or move fast, they have to turn, do a wide arc, unlike a mako who can turn on a dime. So Bruce, running at quite fast speeds, if he could reach those speeds, would not be turning as quick as he needs to be. Now on to his main form attack, besides biting, which there's no problem with the jaws, is ramming. There's a reason why sharks do not ram. They have highly sensitive noses. But here's the thing. Bruce has a thick cartilage-like ram for his snout. This means there is not room for electroreceptors, because if they were there, they're getting hit, which would damage them and lead to immense pain for Bruce. Now, this also diminishes his sense of smell, since there's not enough room for those organs, because there's a ram of thicker cartilage, more solid cartilage. And even so, if they were there, they are getting thrown at 50 miles per hour into objects. Now, given all of this, Bruce is still quite a formidable foe, but this is where Dracocetus' unique build comes into play, the cetacean body plan. Cetaceans don't rely on one main muscle group to control their swimming, and they don't rely on all of their fins like fish do. Because a shark without a dorsal fin is a dead shark. A shark without with a missing pectoral fin, that is a dead shark. Now, a whale, like losing a pectoral fin, that's gonna suck, but it can still move. Especially if you take off Dracocetus' dorsal fin, Dracocetus is gonna be trucking along just fine. Now, if Bruce took a chunk out of the fluke, then Dracocetus might be in a little trouble. And even since there's 12 of these sharkopaths and 3 Dracocetus, it's definitely one of them will fall victim. But here's the thing with the sharkopaths. Their mind is weird, because they're using dolphins, which communicate vocally, with combination of a shark that uses bioluminescence. Now, I don't know the whole brain compositation thing. I'm not going to be an expert there. But using an animal that uses echolocation and vocal communication in a hybrid that is not vocal at all, that uses bioluminescence, is going to be messing with Bruce, potentially, leading Bruce and the sharkopaths to be not as coordinated as once believed. Plus, most of these sharks although they can get along, are solitary animals. Most sharks are solitary animals. So you're taking a mostly shark-based hybrid of sharks that are mostly solitary and putting them into a group of a dozen. That is going to be messing with instincts, even though it's mostly comprised of, for the mind at least, dolphin. So he can be social, but they might be a little more bickering than you think, although sharks can be quite tolerant at times. But with the ramming, which is going to be their main form of attack, if they run at 50 miles per hour into a bony armored hybrid, it's like hitting a brick wall. And hitting a brick wall at 50 miles per hour, you're going to dent the brick wall, but you're going to dent yourself. And since these guys can't really turn quick, if Dracocetus gets out of the way, they're sent corralling past him. But given Dracocetus is a ambush predator that lives in shallower waters, more of reef environments or near reefs, you got a open water animal going 50 miles per hour at full burst straight into either rocks, coral, the ground, or a osteoderm covered back, which it's like running high grit sandpaper against yourself at a high speed. So either if Bruce hits Dracocetus head on, he's going to be suffering damage due to his cartilaginous skeleton and cartilage being softer than bone and more malleable. So if Dracocetus decides to take his bet and come at Bruce head on, don't get me wrong, Dracocetus is going to be banged up because he's taking a full charge at head, but an object going 50 miles per hour colliding with an object at 38 miles per hour head on, and you're the softer object, you're giving away to the harder object. Dracocetus, having a bony face thanks to Arapaima, will be taking Bruce's charge. And don't get me wrong, he's going to be banged up, but Bruce's skeleton is a softer skeleton, and this is why sharks aren't good, don't ram. He's getting his sensory organs completely just hitting a brick wall, while also his head is not built for that kind of pressure. Sharks aren't built for ramming. So basically, he's going to compress like an accordion, or he is going to suffer some major brain damage. Now, Bruce, don't get me wrong, if he didn't ram, would be a better... If he chose not to ram, it would be good. But still, if you're ramming your jaws 50 miles per hour into a object, that's not going to be good. And let's not forget, Dracocetus can actively dispatch most of the sharks that Bruce is composed of. And those teeth, if sunken into Bruce, that might bisect Bruce, or at least do major damage. And if Dracocetus gets a hold and takes off of a fin, or takes out the gills, Bruce is a dead shark. And let's not forget, if he targets the muscle group that is responsible for swimming, which is near the head in these large open body of water sharks, like the great white, Bruce will not be able to swim. Or swim well. So we got a hybrid that probably shouldn't be going fast as he can, that if ramming things will just be hurting himself because of organs and his skeleton not being built for it, or overall body not being built for it, we also have a hybrid that can quite easily probably outmaneuver him because he can't turn as quick as necessary, but can also pretty much one-tap him or cripple him for life. So, yeah, Dracocetus has quite the advantage here. Under the calm waves of the Gulf of Mexico, the Sharkopaths enter a shallow reef that, although unfamiliar to them, they feel a compulsion to enter and take this territory as their own, like they've done before. But this environment dampens their speed and agility due to how clustered it is. Then they spot it, an ivory-coated beast with scales that are strange and unfamiliar to them. It has a whale-like build, which they're familiar to hunting due to them hunting orcas, but it's different. Something more primal. An engineered weapon. One taking charge with their aggressive nature from the bull shark charges at the Dracocetus at full speed. Ivory remaining calm as using herself as bait. As the Sharkopath approaches, it is snatched from underneath by Abyss, the largest of the three Dracocetus. It is quickly killed with one simple bite and left for dead. As the two Dracocetus turn to face the rest of the Sharkopath pack, the Sharkopaths start to engage in their attack, one preparing to ram into Abyss and landing a successful hit on the back. At a full charge, this leads to their nose and face getting all scarred up from hitting the osteoderms with such speed, and leading to Abyss to retaliate with a tail smack, hitting him in the face once more, disorienting the shark even more, allowing to Abyss to swiftly turn around and dispatch the shark. While the others are communicating and flashing to each other their plan, Abyss approaches along with Ivory as the sharks begin to circle them with a swift nature, knowing that going full speed in this environment will not be beneficial to them. So they send two after Ivory. One using its jaws, while the other decides to go for a ram head-on with Ivory. Well, Ivory sees both of them with her mosasaur mix of mosasaur and basilosaurus vision. She carefully positions herself and decides to meet one with a ram head-on, charging forward, leading the one that was going for a bite to corralling past her and having to make a long turn, while the one charging head-on picks up speed, both creatures deciding to go at max speed. And as they collide, the Sharkopath reels in disorientation and blood spills from both opponents. The Sharkopath critically injured from the head and suffering a major concussion, while Ivory having a less minor damage, but still disoriented, leaving Dracocetus to come in and finish off the disoriented Sharkopath. Now that some of the pack has been disarmed and dealt with, as the fight continues, Ivory gets injured and has to leave the fight, with Abyss and Dracocetus holding off the rest of the Sharkopath pack while Ivory escapes. After a while, Abyss has to leave due to injuries of his own being sustained, leaving only 2 left on the battlefield. Bruce versus Dracocetus 2.0. Both battle-scarred and tempered by the forces of the sea. Only one can be the true Lord of the Seas. They circle each other, watching for an opportunity to open up. Bruce using his bioluminescence to try and confuse Dracocetus 2.0, but in these shallow waters, there's not much to have the bioluminescence distract from, being not able to produce as much light as if in darker depths. Dracocetus charges forward, while Bruce speeds to try and not get caught, evading Dracocetus 2.0's attack, unlike his brethren. He takes a wide arc circle and charges forward. Dracocetus, seeing this, performs a roll to the side to avoid the quick charge, and swiftly turns around to clamp on to one of Bruce's pectoral fins, clamping and ripping him off with one sweep of the head. Now that Bruce is unbalanced and can't move, Dracocetus goes in for the finishing blow, clamping his jaws onto Bruce's gills as he proceeded to barrel roll, performing a crocodilian-like maneuver of the death roll, ripping flesh in spiraling fashion, blood seeping from the gills of his challenger. One fell and one rose. Bruce's body sinks and with blood filling the sea. And Dracocetus breaches the waters with a victorious resolution. He calls out to his pack, telling them that he is returning with them. But the Sharkopaths aren't the only one entering the sea. As for now, there are other hybrids coming to challenge the pack, or particularly Dracocetus 2.0. But they will stay ready. As for the Sharkopaths, they were dispatched, and their poisonous meat from the Greenland shark mostly nullified by the crocodilian immune system, helping with the poison, with mild side effects affecting the trio of hybrids. Now, I would like to thank Consolatory Pass for making Bruce. Now, by no means do I not like Bruce. Bruce is a really cool hybrid. He took a glow stick shark and said, yeah, I'm gonna make that thing a pack hunter because of this show I like. And I respect that completely. For goodness sake, Dracocetus' color pattern and his siblings are based off of Lagiacrus from Monster Hunter, if it wasn't already apparent. But I would also like to thank the person who drew this daily. I will link his Instagram and YouTube in the description. He's in dire need for commissions, so go ahead and support him, please. And that is all I have to say. And have a good day, everybody. See y'all later. And next video.